Everything old is new again. Sydney's CBD to go back to the future. Trams, trains and automobiles. Today, the state government outlined its vision to get Sydney moving again over the next 20 years. Much of it we already knew, and the opposition claims it's largely uncosted. But one project that's just been announced has won widespread support, a light rail line right through the heart of the city. Ben Worsley reports.
This is George Street as we know it. Fast forward a couple of years and it'll be a very different picture. Light rail is making a CBD comeback. From Randwick and Kingsford, trams will run for 12 kilometres past the SCG through Surrey Hills, all the way to Circular Quay.
What light rail does is allow us to move more people more reliably, more quickly. One light rail vehicle carries about 300 people, which is the equivalent of 5 buses.
1 kilometre of George Street will become car-free. Construction starts in 2014.
George Street is a chaotic, dysfunctional mess, and we hope the introduction of a light rail network from Randwick into the CBD signals the start of a transformation of CBD transport.
The light rail is part of the state government's grandly titled Transport Master Plan. 420 pages, 220 projects, costing $25 billion in the next 4 years alone.
56% of that will be spent on public transport and 44% will be spent on roads.
Much of the plan is confirmation of previous announcements. The West Connex Tollway, stretching the M4 to the airport and duplicating the M5 East. Rail links in Sydney's northwest and southwest, stretching up to Rouse Hill and down to Leppington. And an integrated electronic ticketing system for all public transport.
If we don't invest in this sort of infrastructure, we won't create jobs, we won't grow the economy.
A glossy brochure with no new money and no explanation on how these projects are going to be paid for.
Also confirmed today, plans to build a passenger rail line under Sydney Harbour. Exactly where or when hasn't been revealed.
And Ben Worsley joins us now from State Parliament. Ben, these plans revealed today go against many of the recommendations of the main advisory body, don't they?
Juanita, it was always going to be very interesting to see how the government played this today, because it's recently received starkly contrasting advice on this topic from two different bodies, its own Transport Department and Infrastructure New South Wales, the independent advisory group headed by Nick Greiner, the former Liberal Premier. Now, today the government supported 59 of 70 recommendations made by Infrastructure New South Wales, but when you look at the recommendations it's rejected, well, that's when it gets a little tricky. Infrastructure New South Wales does not want a light rail project running through the CBD. It prefers an underground bus network, and that's been rejected out of hand by Barry O'Farrell. It does want a second Sydney airport, also putting at odds with the Premier. And it thinks that the second rail crossing under the harbour that was announced today is effectively a waste of money. Now, the body itself is putting a positive spin and a brave face on all of this. Through a statement, it says that its biggest success or its biggest achievement is, quote, challenging the orthodoxy around the way governments traditionally make decisions and spend capital. Well, much of that capital is about to be spent on projects Infrastructure New South Wales simply doesn't want, but it's going to have to advise the government on precisely how to deliver those very projects. Juanita, it may make for some very interesting discussions behind closed doors.
Certainly will. Ben Worsley reporting there from State Parliament.